Something that's been on my mind a lot, especially with the new year, new budgets and things like that, are savings and different types of budget methodologies, and particularly sinking funds. So that's what I want to chat with you all about today is what is a sinking fund, how do I use them, and how they have saved my butt on more than one occasion. As you can see, I am out of the office today. We are trying something a little different, so I am on the couch instead of in front of my computer, and I have a couple things that I'd love to just chat about with you today. So first and foremost, the definition of a sinking fund. So at its base, it is a category of savings, and it's something that you know is coming for you at some point down the road that you want to prepare for and save maybe a little bit at a time, incremental amounts to get yourself ready for whatever that expense is. You can use this for all sorts of things. It can be bills that come around only a couple times a year, something off cycle. It could be maybe debt payments. If you're saving for an additional payment on your mortgage at the end of the year. You can do really anything with a sinking fund. It can be fun things. It can be not so fun things. Oh, hi, Basil. Okay, he wants to sit by the fire. So sinking funds are really great for larger expenses, things that you either don't want to or simply cannot just afford out of one budget. An example, because I am staring out my window right now to 30 plus inches of snow tires, if that's something that you need to have where you live, those are expensive, and that's probably not something that you can just afford out of one paycheck. So if you start saving for those in the summer, then by the time you get to the winter time and snow tire season, you are ready to just pay for it and it doesn't completely blow up your January, February budget. Another really popular one is gifts, whether it's Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, or just a running tab for the year. That's really helpful too. Importantly, this is not your emergency fund. So these are two completely separate and distinct funds. Your emergency fund is really to cover you for potential loss of income and make yourself feel super secure and safe in your budget and your savings. So emergency fund is 99% of the time going to be your largest bucket or your largest fund. And that's something that you don't want to touch for large purchases. That's if you can't work and you still need to pay rent. Can you hear that? So like I said, there's 30 plus inches of snow today, and it was like -20 here with the wind chill last night. So we had to bring our ducks inside. They normally live in a coop in the backyard, and they are currently living in our basement. That was the first time I've heard a quack since last night when we brought them in. I think that's what Basil is keeping an eye on right now for us. All right. So I'll talk about this in a little bit more depth in my next video because there's some controversy around how much you should have in an emergency fund and what that looks like. And I have maybe some unpopular opinions. Dave Ramsey fans, you might not like the next one. There are a couple different ways to figure out how much money you need in a sinking fund. This is very personal, and you can have 1 or 2 sinking funds. You can have 20. It just depends on your goals, your risk tolerance, and what is coming in the future for you. I think a good example, because it's January right now, it will probably be February by the time you see this video, but we just finished up the Christmas season. And if that took you or your wallet by surprise and you spent a little more than you thought, or maybe it messed up your budget a little bit, here's a way that we can prepare for this. I think about how much money I want to spend on gifts, on Christmas gifts. And you can just say, oh, I think it should be $2,000. Or typically what I do is I think about who I'm getting gifts for. We don't really do a lot of gifts for friends. It's mostly family. And we don't have any young children right now, whether, our children or nieces, nephews, whatever. We don't have that right now. So our sinking fund will probably only get larger for Christmas as time goes on. But I like to think about who I'm getting gifts for and roughly how much I think is appropriate or what I would want to spend on. So run you through my thought process. My husband and I give ourselves a budget every year for Christmas gifts. This year we increased our budget. So we each have $300 that we can spend on each other. I have 2 little sisters and I love to spoil them over Christmas. So I probably would say $250 each for them. So that's $600 plus $500 is $1,100. And then my husband has his sister. So we'll say that's $250 as well. So that's $1,350. And then both of our parents. So that's $250 or $300. So we'll call it $250. So $1,350 plus $500 is $1,850. And then we have, as you can see, you have one of our two, and then two of two puppies, and we don't really spoil them. We'll get them some treats and maybe one toy, but I would probably round up to 2,000 there. And now, because we have hit the extent of my mathematical abilities, I'm bringing up my calculator here, which is pretty embarrassing. So let's say it's January 31st, right? I haven't thought about this until today. So I've got until December to make this happen. There's 11 months until December. So I would take that 2,000 and I would divide it by 11, and that's $182 each month in order to have 2,000 in that account by December. So I would probably, when doing my budget, I would probably allocate $200 a month for gifts. And if I had bi-weekly paychecks, I would allocate $100 a paycheck. If I had weekly paychecks, I would do 50. I don't know where Basil's going. He is a strange little one. Good job, buddy. Oh, he's looking at my other microphone. I think he wants to join in. Basil's got opinions about sinking funds. I'm going to hold because this is really loud. There he goes. Uh-huh. Come on. I shamed him. He's not eating. This feels like an absolute ramble of a video, and I don't think it's going to be good. The dog's everywhere. I'm like fighting my way through defining a very simple personal finance topic. So I talked about sinking funds and what they are. I talked about sinking funds versus emergency funds. I think really the only other thing is where to store a sinking fund. And this is going to be different for a lot of different people depending on how you do your budgets, as well as what that lead time and time frame is to when that big expense or purchase is coming up for you. I have a coworker who keeps all of his sinking funds in a Betterment account, so they're all invested in the market. I don't have that same level of risk tolerance, so I keep mine in a high yield savings account. And I have a SoFi account, which I absolutely love because they let you split up your savings into buckets and it still accrues that higher level of interest in the high yield. So that's what I do. I have all of my sinking funds in little buckets in my high yield savings. If you are a cash budgeter, which I did for quite a while, if you look, I did cash budgeting for quite a while, and I'll leave a link to my types of budget video. You probably will have a separate little cash binder or envelopes with each of your sinking funds in there so that you physically separate the funds across your different sinking funds so that you don't get confused and you don't take from one to give to another. Something else that I think sinking funds do really well is they give you a specific goal, and you can very easily visualize what's at the end of this process for you. So instead of, and I know people that do this too, instead of just saving as much money as you possibly can in your one savings account, and that's everything, and then you just pull from that for whatever you could possibly think of. So that's, if you lose income, that's where that's going to come from. If you have a vacation come up or a wedding or your car breaks down, all of it is coming from that same fund or same account or whatever. And so it's hard to really visualize what you're saving for, and it makes it a lot easier to use that money for random things when it doesn't feel like you're stealing from one thing or another. So that's a huge benefit, I think, of sinking funds is I know when I put my $50 a month or whatever it is into my car maintenance fund, that is for car maintenance, and I can't take it for anything else unless that's absolutely like a dire situation. But so I won't use that to... Basil. Yes. So I won't use that to buy a snowblower or something else. Like that would come out of my home maintenance sinking fund. This is an absolutely wild video. I don't think this is going to see the light of day, but that's okay. Okay, so for the final portion of this video, I'm going to pull up my budget and talk through the sinking funds that I have. Okay, I have 7 sinking funds, and I will go through them, and I can talk about how much I have as a goal for each of these things. Some of these are a little bit unusual, but they work for me, and I have certain things that I've been saving for a really long time. And so I guess to start off, I'll just talk about the most odd one that I have on here. I have a baby fund, and we have been mentally and financially preparing to have a child since before we got married. This has been one that we've been contributing to for a really long time without a specific end in sight in terms of timeline. But we just wanted to feel comfortable and prepared for anything that came along. And so for that reason, our baby fund has a goal of $5,000 in it. And after 3 years of savings, we have just about 4,000 in there. So it's been a long go, and it's a little bit at a time, but it certainly adds up. Our other sinking funds, I have car maintenance. My goal there is $500, which maybe it should be a little bit higher than that, but that's what it's at right now. It is actually at a whopping $0 at this moment in time because my car just had a repair and Ryan's car actually also just had a repair. So most of mine was covered by an insurance payout, but Ryan's we had to pay for out of pocket. But it all came from this sinking fund. So it worked as prescribed. And now we're just going to start contributing again to get it back up to that 500. And maybe we'll increase it to 1,000. I drive an electric car, so I feel like maintenance and expenses could get high on that just because there's so many like computers and stuff. I don't really understand it. My third sinking fund is also car related. We have a car savings sinking fund. So Ryan drives a paid off car. We bought his car in cash. We're going to drive that into the ground. So that's not a concern, but I am actually in a lease, which again, sorry, Dave Ramsey. I wanted an electric car, and in December of 2024, I had a feeling that the leader of our new administration was going to get rid of the tax credits and benefits for purchasing an electric vehicle. So I leased one in December of 2024 to take advantage of the federal tax credit that I had a feeling was going away. And I was right. I have almost 2 years left on that lease. And then after that, I have no intention of keeping the car. The reason that we leased the electric car instead of buying it is because the technology just increases so quickly. So at the end of this lease, this car will be 3 years old and I will not want to buy it out. So we have a $15,000 goal for that. And it's been about a year. So we have just shy of 8,000 in that sinking fund. And that one is if there's fluctuations in our income or we have a high utility bill one month or something weird happens, the car savings sinking fund is the one that we don't contribute to first. So that one is not like a normal, like I don't contribute like $100 a month or whatever it is to that one. That one is if there is money to put toward it, we will. The reason why we have so much after just a year of having a lease is I sold my other car to get into this lease and I ended up able to pocket a good amount of money from that. I have another one that's not fully aligned with the way that I defined sinking funds, but how I use them. I have a fun sinking fund. So this is if my husband and I want to go to the movies or we want to go skiing or do something like that. I don't want that to come out of our personal allowance that I give us both every month. I put 50, 100, 200 a month in there, depending on what that month looks like. And our goal for that one was 1,000, but that was completely arbitrary. And right now we have 1,800 in there. I bulked that up for a couple reasons. One, because of my goal of starting new hobbies in 2026. I wanted to be able to fund those. And then also because it's ski season and we live 5 minutes from a ski mountain. I also have a gift sinking fund, and it says on here that my goal is 1,000, which I did that math for you and I know that's not right. My goal should be 2,000. So I'm going to change that actually. Okay. So goal is 2,000 and I currently have about 1,100 in there, which I think is really great actually for January because we just had Christmas. So that must mean we came in under budget for Christmas. I have a home maintenance sinking fund and the goal there is 500, but I have absolutely blown that out of the water because we have plans to redo the ducks' habitat over the summer, as well as build a bunch of raised garden beds to start growing our own vegetables. So I have a $500 goal here and we have just shy of 3,000 in our home savings. I have a medical copays sinking fund. And I think this one is huge. I think everyone should have a medical copays sinking fund because you never know what you're going to need to pay for and you never know when a medical emergency is going to hit. But I think that there are ways to be strategic about the sinking funds themselves. I think it's important to be aware of your copays and what those are for different treatments and different medications. I think it's important to be aware of your out-of-pocket maximum, both as an individual and as a family, if you have family insurance. I don't have too much in there. My husband and I are both very healthy and I have pretty good insurance. So right now I have $640 in that medical copays. I'm probably going to increase that because I know that my out-of-pocket maximum is $2,500. So I will slowly increase that. There's not a rush there, but it would be nice to have a sinking fund equal to your annual out-of-pocket maximum. We also have a travel fund. Our goal there is 1,000, and that's another one that I've absolutely just blown out of the water, and I'm keeping adding to it. My husband and I don't vacation often. We both have pretty demanding jobs, so we've discussed how we want to approach this moving forward. We do 1 or 2 like weekend trips a year, but we don't really do anything else most of the time. So we want to save for a big trip. We would love to do, we've talked about it a bunch. We want to do like a Viking cruise in Europe and go all out there at some point a few years from now. My travel sinking fund is $1,000 goal, but I think it really pie in the sky would be like $10,000 so that we could fully fund this like once in a lifetime vacation. But right now our travel fund is just shy of 4,000. So we're doing really well. And that's one, we're not going to touch it. We're just simply not going to touch it. We don't have anything planned. So those are my sinking funds. There's all different types that you can do. I would recommend just a quick Google search if you're not sure where to start here for you and what sinking funds make the most sense for you. Depending on where you live, I think that there are a few no-brainers that you should have. First being anything medical. I think a medical copays or a medical savings. I think that just huge because the way that America works with our healthcare and insurance and everything is so terrible and everything is so expensive. Even if your sinking fund, if something happens and your sinking fund doesn't fully cover an expense or a major medical expense, it's something and it'll help. And I think it'll give a little bit of peace of mind. So if it's not an absolutely crazy number, my recommendation would be a medical sinking fund equal to your annual out-of-pocket maximum. Another one, and not everybody is going to need these, car maintenance and home maintenance. Those are just the unexpected expenses. If you're going to have an unexpected expense, it's either going to be medical, home, car, most of the time. If you have pets, that would be another one. But just start putting a couple dollars a month away. And when you need it, it's just going to make everything a little bit easier. If it's not obvious, I am a huge proponent of sinking funds, and I highly recommend that you implement them in your budget. So that is our first out of office chat. And I think it was probably a little bit of a disaster, but I'm going to try and edit it and post it anyway. I had a lot of fun talking about sinking funds, even if it's completely scattered and is not going to make any sense. This whole back half of the video could be ruined because Basil goes and gets food and then comes back over here to eat the mouthful of food that he got to then go back to get another mouthful of food. Regardless, this is meant to be casual and meant to be a little bit less rigid and scripted like some of my other videos, like my budgeting video, and just chatting about personal finance because I don't think that people talk about it enough. And I am happy to be a person that talks about it and is open about it. I think that's it. Thanks for staying through this out of office chat. Please leave a comment and let me know if there are any like huge sinking funds that you think that I missed or maybe that you think I should have. I'm always modifying and improving my budget and my system, and I want to be prepared for anything. So let me know. Maybe you have a weird sinking fund like I do with the baby sinking fund. I would love to continue this conversation in the comments, and I will see you next time.